let's show some initiative. Let's get creative. Be innovative. Let's also use our resourcefulness. So most importantly, let's get creative. Let's expand our mind. Let's expand our imagination. Be curious. Being curious is a very important quality to have. I can remember being at a farmhouse barn for a function my parents had many years ago, so I may only have been something like 7 or 8, and it was a barn house with a corrugated iron walls, and it had nice solid wooden tables inside, great country cooking. The function was there, and to the side there was a area which was darker, and which the whole place was dark. This was darker, and it had holes in the corrugated iron, so there was a shining in of the rays of the sun, and they made patterns on the floor. I'm pretty sure it was a dusty room, and you can see the light shining in. You can also, I suppose, have fun by blocking off the rays, so you can see that the hole disappears. I suppose the mark on the floor was disappeared when someone walked in front of the light to block it off. And one weird thing was that with the light, when there was a very tiny hole, it at times produced a bigger mark on the floor, mark of light on the floor, than if there was a bigger hole. I couldn't work, I still don't get it, but I'm saying apparently it has something to do with there being maybe weird diffraction effects or something weird to do with having a small hole. So that's a bit about the light flowing through the corrugated iron wall. And it's interesting because in society there are many things we don't know or understand or just take for granted. I like a curious, inquiring mind. That's good. It's important to think, hey, why is this so? What's the reason? What's the reason in nature for it to be? To try to understand. And oftentimes in science, many theories which are counterintuitive are nonsense, and should be evaluated more thoroughly. So if you want to improve science, a good starting point could be to think of all the counterintuitive theories and try to work out what's really going on. I feel that science and hype are very synonymous, very similar, science and hype. And if we think of the level of science 100 or 200 or 300 years ago, it was to a very substandard. So it was the subway of science now. And the future of science may be teleportation or some other things which are in the next generation of science. So I feel that in 100 years' time from now, science will be substantially more advanced than now, especially after the technological singularity has hit. So it will cause massive changes because AI will be advanced enough so that machines can improve both their software and their hardware. This will lead to many massive scientific revolutions as machines take the place of scientists and other researchers and really do work to strive to advanced science and advanced society. Back to my example from before. So you had this here is the Earth. My thumb can be a man on the Earth, or a woman on Earth. And here you have a spaceship which is travelling around in a circle around the man. So the man on Earth can see the spaceship moving around. So the spaceship moving around, and so they're both in eyesight. And the interesting thing is that I've heard from some people say that, according to Einstein, that when vehicles move near the speed of light, time slows down. So the watch on their wrist would slow down. So because both the ship travelling in a circle through space and also the man, because they can both see the sun, and they're both governed by the day-night cycle, because the Earth spins around itself, what happens on its axis as it spins around the Earth, and it spins around the sun. So I feel as though because the Earth spins around its axis, this creates a day-night cycle, which is 24 hours, but it would be less for the spaceship because its time is slowing down. So this would create weirdness, because after, say, a few days, it would put things all out of whack. So it feels like it might be, say, 2 in the morning, I call to a person's watch, 2 a.m. calls to their watch, and it might be bright, broad daylight, or it might be, say, complete darkness at 12 noon. So this is because their day-night cycle has been changed, because time slows down, so they have shorter amount of hours for the day-night cycle. So for these people, I suppose they may need to have a new calendar and new watches even, so that they can have it might be something like 19 hours, or who knows. I suppose I'm saying they may need to have, say, a 19-hour clock as a way to keep track of days, so that everything moves back into sync. So there are many things which happen and which don't always make sense. I feel that the film timeline was fun because it had a cute little French woman in it who was a sweetie, but she was pretty small, perhaps too small anyway. So I feel as though it was a fun film I saw about 5 years ago on DVD, and the physics was wrong because they said that to teleport required things to dematerialize and then rematerialize via the transcription of into their being. So it's almost, I suppose, about trying to be recreated using fancy science, which is nonsense, because people teleport via having space bent, or they time travel via bending space-time. It's nonsense that I suppose people do dematerialize, materialize. Complete fucking cock and bullets nonsense. So it's all about bending space or bending time, that is via one's mind or via a machine. But obviously if it's done by one's mind, it's much more safe. Our minds are incredible, and we need more work, perhaps hypnotic work, to help to free our minds, from the bondage which society inflicts upon our mind. We need to free ourselves, free our minds. And I feel that through having hardship is a great way to free our mind, because the feeling of because when we experience hardship, it works to get the muck out of our mind so that it can work in a much more effective way. I'm very opposed to things like pharmaceutical tranquilizers, because they work to cottonwool us, to prevent us from feeling intense emotion. And the intense emotion, the intense experience, I suppose, is what does free our mind, helps to move us from the substandard, from the subway, into the next gen. It's about working to free our mind and body through making a change, through going for a camping weekend and spending lots of time walking and thinking. I feel that we need to free our mind and have a curious and reflective mind, a mind which wants to find the answer, wants to find the cause of our problems, because when the cause of our problems are removed, the problem ceases to exist. What can we do now to make things better? It's important to get runs on the board. It's important to hit the ground running. Let's do it. Let's do it now. Let's work to make a change. What can we do now to make things better? Groovy.